Okay, today I'm going to show you how to set up stairs. One of the finishing touches on the deck right here. We've got to measure the height that we're going off of. Put some concrete blocks down here to see what this is. Right at 110 inches. With that, stairs, you always want them to be a really nice, gentle set of stairs. Is a rise of 7.5 inches and a run the length of the tread at 10 inches. You can put whatever size tread you want with overhangs. But that's a really nice set. So you want to aim for that specifically. So we're going to take 110, divide that by 7.5, and see how many rises we get. There's always going to be one less tread. My phone had just died. I used to do this, just scratching it on pieces of wood, just doing math, but using the calculator is way, way, way faster. And I'm not sure why it had died, because I got plenty of power here. I go to Tools, find the calculator, do 110 inches, divide that by 7.5. That gives us 14.5 rises. So we're going to want to lessen that, so we'll do 15 rises. So now we switch the math. 110 divided by 15, that equals 7 1/3 inches. And there's going to be one less tread than there is rises. So we're going to do 7 1/3 inches and 1/16 of an inch. That's about 7 5/16, just a hair more than that. So we'll go over the wood and show you how to set that up. Okay, to do these, your framing square, and these things are framing clips. I'll give you a close view of what they look like. These are clamps that clamp on the framing square. You can do this without them, but it's a lot harder. It's way harder. So we want to set the framing square up so that set the framing square up, screw them in tight. Closely what that looks like. Here's another board. This is going to be the rise. You notice that's just barely over 7 5/16, and the tread length is right at 10 inches down here at the bottom. Can't see it right there. 10 inches at the bottom right there. So now it's just a matter of marking everything out. You always want to start up at the top corner as much as you realistically can, so you don't have a lot of lumber to waste. So we come down. Come like this. It's always a good idea where the end of your tread is to put a pencil line on there so you can line your frame and square up, because a bunch of things can change as you slide down. There's knots, there's defects in the wood, there's all those things that you put a mark every time. Come right to the mark, and it'll be real solid as far as uniformity of heights and everything. You only allowed a 1/4 inch variation in your tread and your rise by code from landing to landing. So all your measurements are really critical. I met a guy in a big box mart, I think it was Lowe's, a little while ago. He was buying pre-made stair horses for rental property, and his renter was going to put them in, and explained to him why he didn't want to do that, but he bought them anyway. As a landlord, he's required to make sure that everything conforms to all the standards of all the building codes. So it didn't matter to him. He just wanted to get it done. But some people are that way. It's expensive if somebody checks up on you, though. You got to rip out all the work you just did and make it right in the first place. Custom builder. Those are critical things. I used to build really fancy stairways. And what I'm doing right now is the start of all of them. So now I'm going to count these to see where I'm at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm right there. That's 14 threads. I've got one more rise to do on this end down here. That'll give us the 15 rises that we talked about. So now on the bottom one, I've got to cut the rise. Okay, so I'm back here where you can see me. On the top one, we've got to make sure that it's going to fit onto the wood that it's going to that it'll butt up to. And for that, I can just extend my rise straight down, because it's going on a flat piece of wood, to make sure that it's level. Or plumb is the right word, and it's right on. It's straight plumb, so I won't have to adjust what I'm doing on this end at all. So this will be a straight cut. On the other end, because I'm using 5/4 deck board, they measure that in quarters. The finished height of that is 1 1/8 inches. So I'm going to have to cut 1 1/8 inches off the bottom one, which, let's take this down here and show you what that looks like. As we look at this right here, you can see this is the rise right here. Here's the tread. This is where it's going to butt onto the fascia right there. And because the fascia is totally plumb, we can just extend this line out. That's going to be good. The far end down here, however, see this as I do this. This is the rise right here. That's basically a 7 1/3 inches. We will come up from the bottom 1 1/8 inch because that is the height of the tread material we're using. So we come up at 1 1/8 inches. We put a mark right there. If we turn this around, this line will be parallel to the tread. And we bring it back right here. I'm going to extend that out this way, because before you go cutting these up, it's always good to check your work. We're going to make this cut on the bottom and the other one I just showed you on the top. Then we set it in place and we use a level on the treads to make sure that the treads are level before we go cutting all these seat cuts out. And this is called a horse, and there's a couple ways to cut it. Instead of running the saw way over and making this weak, I'm going to run it just barely past it, and I'm going to finish it off with a jigsaw. And the reason I'm going to finish it off that way is I want this part right here to be extra strong. So we'll turn this off, cut these, and show you how to fit it in place. Okay, so our first two cuts, this is the seat cut up here where it runs into the fascia, and you can see the tread coming out like that. When we walk down, you can see the marks for all of the runs and the rises. We come down to this end. This space right here, this will go on the concrete blocks it sets on. This part right here goes on the concrete blocks it sets on. This is the rise minus 1 1/8 inch of this for the tread, and that way when we step off of this rise right here will be uniform all the way up. So we're going to set it in place and see what it looks like. Tell me when you're doing it.
I am.
The red light on?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, to check everything out, we start off, because this tread height is going to be the same as this, we can just bring it down so the point of our stair horse comes to the top of this. But I'm going to double check and make sure that we put this at 7 1/3 inches, which is just a hair over 5/16. So that mark right there, and lift this up, pull it right there. The next thing we do, we double check to make sure that's close to level. For some reason. So checking this with level, this tread is about 3/16 of an inch off of being level. So I'm going to check down at the bottom to make sure that our height looks right. And it's close. So that means our math was just a little bit off. We can adjust this end to see what we have to do to make this level. So I just raised it up a point where it is level. Which that is it right there. This is a 5-inch rise, and it should be 7 5/16. So we're going to have to adjust that. That means the tape was bowed. I'm going to mark where the top of this belongs. We'll divide this height right here by 15 and take that off of our rise, and then this should fit perfectly. I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so when I measured, I must have not been on the landing because I measured blindly. This is the mark where it should be. I'm measuring the difference. That's 2.5 inches. Now, we got to divide 2.5 inches by 15 rises to make the treads level. So if we come back to our calculator, 2.5 inches, well, we can do it that way. 2.5 divided by 15 equals 0.1666. So we'll figure out what that is. We'll see if it's a 16th of an inch. 1 divided by 16, 0.0625. So it's a little over 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is 0.125. So we'll see about 3/16. 1.875. So it's halfway between 3/16 and 1/8 of an inch, which is 3/32 of an inch. So we need to adjust our framing square by 3/32 of an inch of a rise, and then remark this. So if we come here, and that's why. This frame square is set up in tenths instead of 16ths that I assumed, and so the reason why all that happened was because I set it up on the tenths instead of on the 16ths. So I'm going to remark this. So one key point is I'm marking this. These marks are going to be different. So I could do one of two things. I could flip this over and mark the other side, or because I know these marks are different, I'm putting a small V on the right mark so I don't mix this up and cut the wrong thing. Okay, now we got the first horse cut, and it's time to transfer it to the next two. This is the middle one. The next two, instead of cutting it, we're going to put blocks on it. So we're going to see two different ways to do it. But this is the first horse cut. I'll give you a little bit more of a close-up of the way the cuts look in just a moment. But this is going to be the bottom. So we're going to have to flop this one way on one horse, the other way on the other to match this. So this one is going to go this way. And to make sure that all the rails are going to fit well, it's 3.5 inches shorter because it butts the corner post right down below here. Okay, so that's on the first one. We'll mark the next one, flop it over, and it's going to run past, so the ends will be different. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now we got a bunch of blocks cut up. It's time to put all these on our horses right here. Looking at it, that's the top. I put two angles on this. Just because I don't like looking at blunt things. So I put the more tapered one toward the outside, and that way it'll be covered. And we put 3 screws in each one of these. Should be good. Just double check and make sure the screws are not going to go through to the other side. This just to make sure. So we'll just lay these out like this, screw this off, and then we can roll them in place. Okay, so this is finished horse with the blocks on it. Right there. And that on the rail over there is the first horse that we cut. That's going to be the middle one. This will be the edge close to the deck, and the other one that goes down by the deck is that one right there, setting in place. So now I'm going to have to slide all those in place and show you what all that looks like. I'm going to pick it up and slide it out this way. You see, okay, slide it in. out. Oh. And about a half inch. About an eighth back out. Close enough to plumb to leave it. Should be the total. Keep going out. So there we have it. Steers are in place, horses are in place, that is, and all we got to do is flop treads in place, and we'll put a strap underneath the middle horse back up underneath to fasten that one on, and that'll secure it.